Well, the Prime Minister has pulled a special surprise on the Governor-General's last full day in office.
Tony Abbott has restored knights and dames to Australia's honour system.
It's lovely to be in Your Excellency on this very significant day in your life and the life of our country.
There hasn't been a house call like it for decades.
Would you like to proceed?
A Prime Minister drops by to bid Vice-Regal farewell.
You'll be much missed.
I've been utterly inspired by the experiences. They certainly have changed me in many ways.
And he leaves by changing her name forever.
I congratulate Her Excellency, the Honourable Dame Quentin Bryce.
Not only hers, he's created a dame and a knight in one act.
As the incoming Governor-General, it will be Sir Peter Cosgrove.
The lovers exchange between Her Majesty and Sir Robert Menzies.
The nation hasn't appointed a Sir or a Dame since 1986, when Bob Hawke did away with the highest tier in the Order of Australia. Now, up to 4 could be appointed each year.
Why? Why did you want to do this?
I believe this is an important grace note in our national life.
Governors-General would qualify automatically. Defence and High Court chiefs might. Former politicians, perhaps not.
Politicians, of course, however preeminent and extraordinary their achievement, have sought public office. We seek public office, and in a sense public office is its own reward.
So Australia's first female Governor-General is closing out 5.5 years in office. Not since Dame Enid Lyons 33 years ago has a woman had the title bestowed upon her. We don't exactly know how Dame Quentin feels about it. Her Prime Minister says she was happy to accept. Perplexed Republicans don't share the joy.
What an extraordinary lack of judgment and priority by this government.
Perhaps we're rushing back to a reintroduction of slavery or some other institution from the 19th century.
Dame Quentin leaves the capital tomorrow. Greg Jennett, ABC News, Canberra.
Well, one man who approves of this change is Professor David Flint. He's the National Convener of Australians for Constitutional Monarchy. He joins us now in the studio. Professor Flint, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
A pleasure.
You must be a happy man today.
I am happy. I think this is a great moment.
Did you see this coming?
Well, we had proposed it, but that doesn't mean it was going to happen. And it seems to be highly appropriate at the time of the outgoing Governor-General, who's done so well, with an incoming new Governor-General who has such a remarkable record, that this should happen.
Both those people have done remarkable things, but notwithstanding that, is any time appropriate now in the 21st century in Australia to reinstate knights and dames?
Once upon a time I was it was a French National Day, and the French ambassador in a public function awarded an Australian with a chevalier, a knighthood of arts and letters. And at the end of the ceremony I turned round to Mr. Whitlam, who was sitting near me, and I said, Mr. Whitlam, it's your fault that Australians have to go to foreign republics to get a knighthood. Knighthoods are quite common. Italy, France have knighthoods. Many European countries, both monarchies and republics, have knighthoods. I don't know why it seems so strange for some members of Parliament to think that we should be returning to something that's been with us from the very foundation of this country.
What did Mr. Whitlam say in response to you?
He laughed. Because many Australians, including many Australians who opposed, who want a republic, have knighthoods. Many well-known politicians have knighthoods from other countries. I remember John O. Johnson saying to me, we have to have a republic soon. And I said, but you're a knight of the Order of St. Gregory the Great, and you seem to have no problem with that. Why should we have problems with the restoration of knighthoods?
I'd like to talk about the timing of your proposal last year to promote the idea of having knighthoods here. Interestingly enough, around October last year, soon after the current government was elected. In fact, sort of John Howard could have reintroduced knighthoods when he was Prime Minister. He didn't. It's essentially Labor leaders have axed knighthoods, coalition leaders, Conservative leaders have generally brought them back. Why this government? Did you have some sense that this government would be behind this cause?
Well, Tony Abbott, when he first entered public life, was the executive director of Australians for Constitutional Monarchy, so we assumed that he would be a great supporter of tradition and so on. But we had no knowledge that this would happen. We had not been communicating with him and saying, oh, you must do this, apart from quite publicly calling for it. It was a very proper relationship.
Have you been in touch with Mr Abbott? Had you have a sense that this would happen around this time today?
Only publicly have we called for this. I haven't privately.
Yeah, just a few months ago, Professor Flint, the PM ruled out restoring knights and dames in the Order of Australia. What brought about the change, do you think?
When I read that, what he was saying was, we can't do what New Zealand did. New Zealand had a 5-level order of New Zealand, and the 5th top level were always knighthoods and dames. A previous government kept that level, but removed the title knight and the title for dames. That was restored by the present government, the Prime Minister being an avowed Republican, but they still restored knighthoods and damehoods in New Zealand at that same level. You can't do that really. What he was saying, you can't take the AC, which at the present time, or during the Republican period, was the top part of the Australian order. You can't convert all ACs into knighthoods. That wouldn't be appropriate because they're not at that level.
What is expected of someone who is given a knighthood in public life? How does that affect their standing in other people's eyes?
I think there's respect, provided, of course, the system isn't abused, and I'm not suggesting it has been abused in Australia, but I think it is a token of the state recognising that that person has achieved greatness. I think back, for example, to John Monash, General Monash on the battlefield, being, and he was probably the greatest general in the First World War of all the generals, certainly on the Allied side. The King went to the battlefield and knighted him on the battlefield. That was a great moment.
How is the integrity of the awarding of honours assured, do you think, so that the knighthoods aren't given to, hypothetically, a businessman whose greatest contribution is to the, say, the coffers of a major political party, donating to major political parties? How do you assure the integrity of knighthoods?
Well, there'll be so few in the system that any knighthood will create immediate attention. There will be, as I understand it, no more than 4 at the total. There's no guarantee that there will be 4. There will be no more than 4 in any year. There'll be enormous attention paid to these, and if there were an abuse along the lines that you have suggested, I think it would be so obvious that there would be great embarrassment, there'd be questions in Parliament, there would be, the media would be outraged, and I think it would be just unacceptable.
Professor David Flint, National Convener for Australians for Constitutional Monarchy, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.